I was at 28,500 feet above sea level on the notorious northeast ridge of Mount Everest. I was coming down. I had just summited Mount Everest just 2 hours prior. The temperature conditions up there at that altitude was less than minus 30 degrees Celsius, and the oxygen saturation at that extreme altitude was less than 33% of what we breathe here at sea level. What that means is just surviving for the body is extremely difficult up there. And here I was, something was very wrong with my body. My energy levels were going down real fast up to a point where I was not even able to stand up on my 2 feet. And I realized that if I'm not able to stand up and walk myself down, nobody is going to come rescue me. But I just didn't have what it took to stand on my feet. Tears coming out of my eyes. I had accepted this fact that I was going to die here. This is where this journey of life for me was going to end. And it is often in the face of death that we have the most simple and the most important realizations about what life is, what is important, what is not important. But for most people, when they face death, they don't come back, they don't come out of it. But here I am having this opportunity to share the realizations I've had in the moment of death. But first, let's see how I got up there at 28,500 feet from Mumbai to Mount Everest. How did that journey start for me? I remember this incident very clearly in my mind. I was in my house. It was way back in 2010. I was seeing a random news coverage with my father, and on the news they were showing the news coverage of a 16-year-old boy from India who had just climbed Mount Everest, and the way he was explaining his experiences, and especially the sunrise that he saw from the top of the world, that really inspired me to start trekking. And I went for my first trek on the upcoming weekend to a place called Mount Kalsubai. It's the highest peak of Maharashtra where I stay, and I just remember seeing the sunrise from the top of Mount Kalsubai. I thought to myself, if the sunrise from this small hill is so beautiful, how would the sunrise look from the top of the world? The sunrise that 16-year-old boy was explaining in the news coverage. And it was at that point I promised myself, no matter what it takes, I'm going to climb Everest and I'm going to see that sunrise. Now, of course, at that point I knew nothing about trekking or mountaineering, but after speaking to a few experts, I got to know that I have to do the mountaineering courses to start with. So after I got done with my formal education system, I'm a graduate in aircraft maintenance engineering. I don't know why I did that, but after I graduated that, I went for my basic mountaineering course in 2016. Now, up till this point, 2010 to 2016, 6 years, I was completely obsessed with Mount Everest. My room was covered with posters of Everest and I was just completely into it. So now I went for this course. Here I met an instructor who had actually climbed Everest before. So speaking to him, I got to know that there are 3 main things that I need to focus on. First is the mountaineering experience, second is the physical fitness, and third is the fundraising. So now the 6-year-long dream that I had was turned into a step-by-step process. Now the dream was converted into a proper goal. So after I did this mountaineering course, I went about climbing a lot of mountains in the Indian Himalayas, in Ladakh, in Sikkim, in Uttarakhand, in Himachal Pradesh, all of these Himalayan states, and I gained a lot of important mountaineering experience which was going to help me on Everest. And after climbing around 12 to 13 of these Himalayan mountains in a span of 2 years, I came back home and I thought to myself, okay, now I have enough mountaineering experience to attempt Everest. Now I need to work on my physical fitness and the fundraising part, because it costs close to 25 to 30 lakh rupees minimum to go on an expedition to Everest. Now I was 22 years of age back then. I didn't have that kind of money, and I come from a middle class family, and my father had invested a lot into my engineering, which turned out to be a complete waste of investment for him. I didn't want to ask this kind of money from home, neither did we have this kind of money. So I thought it would take me 2 years at least to work on myself physically first and then to raise the money. So I gave myself a realistic target that in 2019 I will climb Mount Everest. And this is when my Everest specific training began. They say that to go to the top of the world, you need to build a top of the world mind and a top of the world body. The best kind of training for mountaineering is to actually be in the mountains. If you want to be a swimmer, you spend more time in the pool. If you want to be a cyclist, you spend more time on the cycle. Similarly, if you want to climb mountains, you spend more time in the mountains. There's no alternative to that. So keeping this in mind, I shifted my house to a mountain village in the Sahyadris called Bhivpuri, and I started investing each and every second of my life in building myself up to a level where I am ready for Everest, on the levels of my body, on the level of my mind, on the level of my emotions, and on the level of the spiritual side of life. These are the 4 dimensions in which the life that we know happens, and to go to an expedition like Everest, all these 4 dimensions needs to be worked on. My day used to start with some pranayama, some breathing exercises and some meditation, because it is very important for your mind and your energies to be at its peak of awareness. At around 5:30 or 6 in the morning, I used to leave my house for a very long hike, for a very long run. This used to last for around 3.5 to 4 hours. In the evening, there was a local gym where I used to stay. So I went there for my strength training. So I invested around 5 to 6 hours at least every day in building myself up physically and mentally. This went on for 2 years without fail every day. Along with this, I was also raising the money, which was probably much more difficult for me personally than climbing Mount Everest. but I was able to raise close to 50% of the amount through crowdfunding, through people who've been following me, through my relatives, through my cousins, through my friends and well-wishers. Another 30% I was able to add through my savings, through my dad's savings, and the remaining 20% we had to take a loan, me and my dad, which I am still repaying as of 2021. So this is how the money fell into place. It was a very difficult task to raise this kind of money, especially India being what it is. In India, only Bollywood and cricket is the center point of attraction for everybody. All the other sports are left behind, unfortunately, and mountaineering, which is a very new happening, it was a very difficult task, but I made it happen. No excuses, you have to make it happen if you really want it. So here I was, I had the money, I had the body, ready to go to Everest. On 8th of April 2019, I left for this expedition to Mount Everest, for this biggest adventure of my life. So I had decided to climb Mount Everest from the north side rather than the south side, the traditional route which is used by close to 95% of the people nowadays, because north side of Everest from Tibet is much more challenging in some terms, which really attracted me. So I chose to climb from the north side of Everest. After a week of driving towards the Everest base camp, I reached there at 17,500 feet at the Everest base camp, which was going to be our home for the next 1.5 months when we climb the mountain. So climbing Everest is not as simplistic as we might think. It's not like you leave the base camp, go to camp 1, then go to camp 2, then go to camp 3, then go to camp 4, and then go to summit. It's not like this. If by some magic I'm able to take any human being from sea level to the very top of the world, any human being would be dead within a span of 1 to 5 minutes, somewhere between that, because our bodies are simply not acclimatized to the lower oxygen levels at high altitudes. So now, to get our body used to the lower oxygen levels, we do a procedure called as rotations, in which we leave the base camp, go to the advanced base camp, spend a few nights, come back to base camp, rest for a few days at the base camp, go to advanced base camp, spend a night, go to camp 1, spend a night, which is at 7,100 meters, which is North Col, and then come back to advanced base camp, and then again all the way back to base camp. So this is why it takes a very long time to climb Mount Everest, this up and down, up and down. This ensures that your body gets introduced to higher altitudes slowly, and when you come down, it gets enough time to produce more red blood cells, and that is what acclimatization means. So this up and down took us close to 25 days. Around 10th of May, we were back at base camp. Our body is now acclimatized to assault the summit, to go for the top. We were waiting for a good weather window. It took unusually long because of a cyclone that had come on the east coast of India. The weather system was really bad up there. So we got a weather forecast saying that on 23rd May the weather might clear up. So keeping 23rd May as the summit date in mind, we left the base camp on around 18th of May. It takes around 5 days to get up there. We went to advanced base camp. We spent a night. It's a beautiful camp. Between advanced base camp and camp 1, we climbed this huge ice wall called as North Col. It's around 1,000 feet high, made of full blue slippery ice. With one step at a time, we made it up there. It was a very difficult task because at this altitude the oxygen levels is really low. After every 3 to 5 steps you have to stop and take at least 10 breaths to recover your breath. But we slowly made it to camp 1. Then eventually next day, after climbing a nice snow slope. We made it to Camp 2 at 25,500 feet. We spent a night. The next day we started our journey towards Camp 3. On our way to Camp 3, we enter into this area that we mountaineers refer to as Death Zone. It's an imaginary line at 8,000 meters, because above 8,000 meters the oxygen saturation in the air is so less that the vital functions of your body is also having a hard time to sustain itself, and your body is literally dying slowly. And most deaths on the mountaineering expeditions happens up there in the death zone. Now we were on a borrowed time. We had to go up and come down in a span of 24 hours. So we reached Camp 3, the highest camp in the whole world at 27,000 feet. We were going to rest for a few hours at this camp and leave for the summit. Now when we left for the summit, something really strange in a good way started happening to me. As I told you guys, I was walking up till here 3 to 5 steps at a time. But now when I left this camp, this sudden burst of energy that I was conserving since 9 years suddenly burst forth, and I was walking faster than everybody else. I overtook everybody, eventually made it very high up the mountain, and on the way I saw close to 16 dead bodies, 16 dead bodies, and it was just a very difficult sight to see. It was insane. It just reminds you very clearly of your mortal nature, and it reminds you what kind of a dangerous game you are playing right now. We went up, and at 5 in the morning on 23rd May 2019, I made it to the top of the world, and tears were flowing down my eyes. I'm not a very emotionally unstable person, but that day the emotions were very powerful. I saw the sunrise from the top of the world, and I just remembered that as a 15-year-old I wanted to see this sunrise. It took me 9 years. Against all odds, I made it happen. And if somebody like me can climb Mount Everest, whatever Everest you have in your life, it is very much possible. I spent around 15-20 minutes on the top of the world enjoying the view, clicking pictures. So we started to go down. Little did I know, on my way down, my life is going to change completely. 2 hours into the descent on the notorious northeast ridge, while I was going down, something really strange started happening to me. And initially I thought it's normal because I'm exhausted. I've been climbing throughout the night, I'm dehydrated and I'm tired. But the energy levels were going down so fast that there came a point where I had to sit down on a rock, and I was not even able to stand up on my 2 feet. It took me some time, but then I realized that if I'm not able to walk on my 2 feet, I'm going to die. And this is where the journey of this life for me will end. And I was sitting on that rock praying to God or universe or whatever you want to call it, that just give me 30 seconds with my loved ones, with my family. Whatever I could not say to them in a span of 24 years, I can say to them in a span of just 30 seconds. And I felt so stupid for having wasted 24 years of my life for something which I could have said in just 30 seconds. And they say in the face of death, only what is truly important, only who is truly important, that remains. Everything else that we thought as important, all that gets filtered out. And you know what else got filtered out up there at 28,500 feet? This fact that I had just summited Mount Everest 2 hours before. Even that meant nothing to me. And I realized in that face of death that what is truly important for us human beings, and it is not the goals that we set for ourselves, it is not the superficial purposes that we give ourselves, it is not the money that we earn, it is not the cars that we drive, it is simply the fact that we are alive. That really matters more than anything else, and we don't realize this because we are living in a superficial layer that we've created for ourselves. We are busy caught up collecting accessories for life, but we completely forget to realize the life that we are. We are alive. That's why we are able to collect all these accessories. Call it money, call it gold, call it marriage, call it whatever you want to. But when you are in the face of death, being alive becomes the most profound thing for you. You realize that you've never experienced the life that you are. All that we've experienced is the psychological drama, the emotional drama, and the physiological needs of a body. And I was up there at 28,500 feet, something really wrong with me. But as it turns out, my oxygen cylinder was running empty. As soon as we changed the cylinder, I felt good because I was feeling very hypoxic because there was no oxygen going in. I recovered from that and I came down. People ask me often what was the best experience of the whole Everest expedition, and they expect my answer to be summiting Mount Everest. Of course, it was very special for me, but that was not the most beautiful moment. The most beautiful moment was when I was exiting Mumbai airport with my trolley and I suddenly saw those 3 to 4 faces in front of me who I was begging at 28,500 feet that they just give me 30 seconds with these 3-4 faces. And now I realized I have much more than 30 seconds to start my life again. It was like a rebirth for me. It was like a bonus life for me, and you don't waste bonus of anything. And while I was walking towards them, I made a promise to myself that the Everest of my life is now to live my life in the best and the most profound possible way, and to keep all the things that we think as important at a little distance from me. See, I'm not saying money is not important, I'm not saying good house is not important, it is very important, but that is not the ultimate purpose of life. The ultimate purpose of life is to experience the life that we are. It should not take anything to be happy or to be peaceful or to be satisfied. Just your existence itself should be so profound, should be so important, the fact that you are alive, that your existence itself is what it takes for you to be absolutely satisfied in life. For me, it took a near death experience to experience this, but it should not take any one of you that, because we being human beings, we have that intellect, we have that understanding, that awareness. So I hope what I said resonates with you. A whole new way of looking at the life that we are opens up for us. We experience what it means to simply be alive, because there is no purpose for life, there is no ultimate goal in life. It is just that we are alive, we must experience that. That is it. That is all it takes to live a satisfied and a blissful life. Thank you so much.